While we lived with my father's parents, my maternal grandmother came over every day to help with our care. Both our grandmothers became, in effect, Steve's and my surrogate mothers. Although we called both sets of grandparents Mom and Pop, to distinguish them, we referred to my paternal grandparents as Lynbrook Mom and Lynbrook Pop, and called my maternal grandparents More Mom and More Pop. Lynbrook Pop never attended college, but he still managed to develop a successful life insurance practice. His company was called J. Kunken Company, and with time, became the family business. My father worked there, as did his sister's husbands, Mel Danis and Sid Regan. Steve and I developed an especially close relationship with our extended family, which included not only our grandparents, but our aunts, uncles, and cousins as well. I have vivid memories of the house in Lynbrook. It had 3 floors plus a basement and a large backyard. That backyard was the perfect place for Steve and me to play. At an early age, I remember my father teaching us how to throw, catch, and hit a baseball. That was the precursor to the passion for athletics that Steve and I developed over the years. Steve and I shared a bedroom on the 2nd floor. I suppose as a result of our mother dying while we were so young, and being raised with our grandparents, Steve and I formed a particularly strong bond. I do know for sure that we did everything together, and my brother has always been my best friend. My time in that house was filled with day-to-day routine activities rather than dramatic events, but I distinctly remember feeling loved and secure there. We lived with Lynbrook Mom and Lynbrook Pop until I was almost 5. That was when my father married his second wife, Janice. Janice had been recently widowed. She had 2 children from her first marriage, Alan, who was 9 months younger than me, and Hope, who was 1.5 years old. My father bought a house for the 6 of us on Freeman Avenue in an undeveloped part of Oceanside. Unfortunately, my father's marriage to Janice was not a happy one. They argued about everything. Even though my father adopted Alan and Hope, we never really seemed like a family. The atmosphere in the house was often so charged, I couldn't wait to get away. Fortunately, both sets of our grandparents lived close by, and Steve and I spent a lot of time visiting with them. My maternal grandparents were a particularly calming influence. They never argued or even raised their voices. There was not a prejudiced or mean-spirited bone in their bodies. They were tolerant of everyone and everything. Whenever I was with More Mom and More Pop, I could feel the tension and anxiety leave my body, my shoulders lower, and the knots around my neck disappear. My grandparents' marriage was a sharp contrast to my father's with Janice. The only good thing that came from that marriage was the birth of my sister Merrill. She was born on May 2nd, 1960. I was not yet 10 years old, and I loved having a little sister.